Wouldn't you like to know a question you could ask yourself that would actually help you make your money stick? What if I told you that I had a very strong hunch that you were spending your money on the wrong assets? Get you assets that stick around. Maybe this could change a whole host of the ways that you think about money and that people in your family have thought about money since you've been around. I'm really glad to be able to share with you something today, and it's going to be one of the financial questions that you can ask yourself that is going to enable you to stop wasting so much money, because we're all a big fan of wasting money. Culturally, you might get some slack for thinking like this if you said it out loud, but you see, people are often in a cycle of earning money so they can spend it to get items where they have to earn more money. And there's often not any alternate paths for the money for savings. And so, to me, the best way to put this is when you trade your money for something like a jacket or whatever, it's, you know, you're going to have a high amount of depreciation. And so there's a economist, Lynn Alden, who's she's a big Bitcoiner, and but moreover, she's a scarce assets person. And so one of the things that she talks about is how the U.S. dollar becomes worth less and less and less, and these scarce assets can become more and more and more. Now look at like some clothing, for instance. I'm not talking about collector clothing or anything like that, but so the dollar's already going down in value, and then you're going to buy something that has an immediately drop down in value, and then keeps going down to garage sale prices. And so if you're able to funnel your money out of this cycle of consumption and be able to divert enough of it to be able to buy scarce assets, and you know, we could go over a list like Bitcoin. You know, one could argue like at certain points. One would argue with stocks as well, and those are called securities. But it's not nearly to the extent of the up and down. So a lot of people think a pretty reasonable thing is going to be exchange traded funds that you would be able to get at a brokerage and put in your Roth IRA so that you don't have to pay taxes on it. If you go to Cheers all the time, you're going to feel like you're in a financial... Quick pause, y'all. So I wanted to mention something that would make this a lot more motivational too. So some of these scarce assets have returns, and you can think pretty simply in terms of dividends. Like some stocks have dividends, and so let's say that's 4% a year or so. If you're able to store back enough of these scarce assets to start paying off a particular bill that you have in your life, several thousands of dollars stored in those assets to be able to cover one bill, maybe. But it's really motivational, and that way it becomes a self-compounding thing. So I learned yesterday that I could change cable companies, and they would cover my phone bill, and I would actually be saving $15 a month on that. And that $15 a month, I'm not going to do the math, but it's pretty easy math. But you know, it's like saving that much money is the equivalent of having thousands of dollars in these assets. And so if you got some regular sinks in your funds, or these streaks of extravagance that you have, like that's the you're taking away the equivalent of what it would be like to have a whole lot of investment income. So think about that. Slow it down with U-Haul right now and tell you that this is not financial advice, because I'm just someone who thinks they know what they're talking about. But even financial experts can't give you financial advice on here because they don't know your financial situation. I'm not a financial expert. Okay, so right now, the very human tendency is all the money that you get, try to consume things. You know, live the best life. That's a very human tendency. I heard it from a friend, and it opened my mind to like how some people think, and it's this generational attitudes about money that, you know, if they get a paycheck and they don't spend every last dollar of it, they feel like they're wasting it. And so they would feel like they're wasting money if they don't spend it on the jacket, whereas they would feel like they're wasting it if they're going to buy something that only appreciates in value against the dollar. So I think that's one key. And so like a question that worked out really well to help you not completely blow your paycheck is think about your hourly rate. So what if your hourly rate is $20? When you're buying something for $20, think to yourself, is this worth an hour of my time? And sometimes it's a really Gucci jar of olives. Sometimes it's you know, the jacket, the so-called like high fashion and stuff. Some of the richest families in the world are the fashion families. And it's kind of terrible because it's just this sink for people's money. So I just want to share that with you today. Again, the question is, would you trade, or is this item worth an hour of your time if it costs your hourly rate? Now, if you're one of these people that you're thinking, that's well and good for people that can do that, but me, I don't have a very high pay, I'm economically oppressed, or you blame yourself saying that I didn't go to college to be able to have an education for a good job. Let me tell you something. You are not crazy. That is, people are economically oppressed. And so I realize how hard this is to do. But I'm just saying that this is a way that you start unburying yourself. It's not feasible for everyone right now. And I think it's one of the saddest things. And so there's he's just a professor of marketing, Scott Galloway. But he said something that really struck a nerve with me, defending the middle class. He said that the American middle class was the greatest innovation of all time. We've done everything. But, so I forget the time span he said, but, you know, not long ago we had 500 pages of tax code. And it was more straightforward and progressive. And then we've added 3,500 pages to the tax code, which makes some special exceptions, and people have just learned to work it. I think it's a bunch of nonsense that, you know, I was speaking about a Roth IRA. Why isn't that like more straightforward rules called what it is instead of something you don't even know what that is? So I think it's, man, it burns me up thinking about that. But just, if you go to Cheers all the time, you're going to feel like you're in a financial